What is up, guys? I am Chris and welcome to my new YouTube video. So today we are going to build a full stack MERN application. So I'm thinking of building like a simple to-do app for now. So yeah, let's just get started. So I am in my YouTube directory over here and let's just create a new project. Let's call it To-Do App. Let's go into that and let's just open it in VS Code by typing code dot. So yeah, let me just make this a bit bigger. Let's open up the terminal here. First of all, I'm going to do a git init just so we can have it on GitHub. Let's create a new folder. Let's call it client. It's for the front end, and another folder. Let's call it server for the back end. So yeah, let's start with the server. So let's go into that. Let's initialize npm. Now we have an empty package.json here. And now let's create an index.js. And we are going to need a few dependencies. So I'm also going to walk you through every dependency. So just follow along. I'm going to make this a bit bigger, so I hope you can see it better. So wait. npm install express mongoose. So express is basically just for creating a server. Mongoose is for MongoDB. It's really important to connect with MongoDB so we can store data, we can interact with our Mongo database and that kind of stuff. Then we'll need cores to interact with our API through the front end. Then .env, nodemon, Morgan, and I think that's it. Let's install that for now. So it's gonna take quite a while, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes. Boom, there we got it. So first of all, let's create a .env file. I'm gonna explain this later, but also if you also work with GitHub, just add a git ignore. And we want to ignore the env file and the node_modules folder. So these two files do not get pushed to our GitHub repo. So yeah, let's close this. And now we have a couple dependencies here. So I can also close this. So we have course.env. .env is important for our environment variables. That's also why you should not push this to GitHub. So yeah, we have a few dependencies. So let's just import them here. So const express is equal require express. Then const, what else do we got? We can have express mongoose, const mongoose, const course is equal to require course. Then const.env, require.env, and also I'm working with GitHub Copilot. I hope that's not, disturbing or anything. So yeah, so on the when you import the .env package, you also want to call the config method just so it's initialized properly. And we also got Morgan, so const Morgan, require Morgan. And Morgan is basically just to log our request that we make to our server in the console. So let's initialize our app with Express. Then here we are going to use our routes, but for now, let's initialize the middlewares. A middleware is essentially something that runs before your route runs. So it's basically just configuration, it's nothing important. So you can also work without Morgan if you don't want to get confused. But basically course, basically just initialized course. So I think it stands for, wait, course. Cross-origin resource sharing. So yeah, it basically just means it allows us to call our data from the front end. So yeah, I'm gonna close Spotify. Wait, okay. So here are going to be our routes. Let's make a little health check maybe to the /API. Also, this is going to be get/API. So let's just say hello world like this. Then we are going to listen our server. So listen server. So you can see GitHub Copilot is suggesting me some code, so I'll just accept it. So basically our server has to listen on a port, right? So then type this app.listen on this port, and then we add a callback function, which just logs to the console that we're listening on port, whatever is in this variable. So this is also where the .env package comes into play. So you can see it says process.env.port, but this means nothing, right? So we have to define the variable here in our .env file. And let's just say import 8000. So, and this is a callback. So if this does not exist, it will just default listen the app on port 5000, I guess. So yeah, now when we open our console and we type node index.js, also make sure you are in the server directory. We get this server running on 8000, but each time we make a change, we have to restart our server. So to avoid this, we can just cancel it. And when we go to our package.json, we also install a dependency called nodemon. You can also install this as a dev dependency, but it doesn't matter for now. So just type dev here and then remove this and type nodemon index.js. So when we close this and now run npm run dev, yep. So you can see it is working. Nodemon started watching this file, and each time we commit a change or anything, the server just automatically restarts. For example, when I save this file now, you can see it restarts. So yes, that's it. Now we also want to connect our database. So I'm using MongoDB Compass for like a local database. I don't want to use any cloud database for now because I think it's also way complicated to set up. So yeah, after this, I will just say connect to MongoDB DB, and we will call mongoose.connect and then process.env mongo underscore URI. So let's add this as well. Oops. And this is the path of the local MongoDB. So when we open MongoDB Compass, let's just connect to it. We can minimize it. And here, YouTube Todo App. So this is basically just the name of the database. So then I think just pass in these two properties here and then use the then block, console log, and then MongoDB connected like this. We will also catch an error if there is one. So yeah, now when we restart our server, we get this. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little water break right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna commit this to the GitHub repo. So git add git command server init. Okay, let's continue. So we are going to have a models folder, oops, inside the server folder, models. Then we are going to have a routes folder and a controllers folder. So basically the models folder is basically, so I don't know if you've ever worked with SQL or MySQL before, but there you have database tables. In MongoDB you have collections instead because it's a NoSQL database. But basically a model is like an instance. So you can have many users, right? So you would have a user model, which defines the structure of a user, basically. So just create, instead of a user, we're obviously going to have a to-do. So just add this, and then const mongoose, require mongoose, and then we will say const user schema. So each model needs a schema. So new mongoose.schema, schema, and we will pass in an object. So now we can, oh, I'm sorry, this is not a user schema, this is a to-do schema, to-do schema. So now we can specify the properties, basically what a to-do is going to have. So we are going to have a title, then it's going to be a type of string, right? We can also make this required. And I think even when we pass in like in an array, we can specify like a required message. So yeah, we're going to have a title, a description maybe. This is also a string, also required. And then status, I guess you could say type enum. I don't know if this is the right approach. Let's just remove this and say is completed. This is going to be a boolean, so type boolean. And default is going to be false because a to-do, when you create a new to-do, it should not be completed by default, right? So yeah, now we are going to say timestamps is equal to true because with each record in our database, we want a created at and an updated at object as well. So yeah, now we're going to export it. So module.exports, I can't type, mongoose.model to do and to do schema. So this is the name of our model. And now we can use this model. So let's create a new route. So to do dash routes.js const express is equal to require express. And now we're going to have a router variable, which comes from express. So just add this. And now we can, for example, say router.get. We can specify the path, so we can get all to-dos like this. Get all to-dos. Now you might wonder where this comes from, but I'm going to explain it in a second. And now we need to export it. So we're just going to export router, and we now need to import this router into our index.js. So usually after you import all the packages, you're going to import your routes. So import routes, and now you can say const to do routes is equal to require. So we need our path routes to do routes .js, or why is it crashing? So our server just crashed. Yeah, I mean, of course it's crashing because this variable is undefined, but we're going to get that in a second. So now, after we have initialized our middleware and connected to our MongoDB, we are going to have our routes here. So we are going to say app.use /API/todos to-do routes. So every route we have in to-do routes has this prefix basically. So when you want to call /all dash to-dos, you have to prefix it with API/todos. So now when we get to this is undefined, right? So let's copy this. And now this is where the controller for just comes into part. So just say to do controller.js. And now here we are going to define a const get all to-dos, request response this, and now you can say actually this is going to be asynchronous. So async, we are going to have a try catch block. Let's just console log the error. So now we will fetch all of our to-dos from the MongoDB database. So there's a method in Mongoose which is todo.find, but to-do is also undefined, which is our to-do model. So we also need to import that. So import, const. This isn't React. So to-do requires the to-do model. To-do. Why is it crashing? It's because of this. So now we can import this here. Const get all to-dos require to-do controller. And also here module.exports get all to-dos. Because we are going to have way more functions than just getting all the to-dos. We also have a function for creating a to-do and updating it and deleting it. So we're all going to put them here and then specify a route for each function basically. So yeah, after we have stored all the to-dos from our database in this variable, we are going to return it. So rest.status 200 JSON to-dos like this. And now we can actually call this. So when we open Insomnia, you can also use Postman or anything else. This was a GET request. So here, GET. So let's just say HTTP localhost, and this was hosted on the port, or listen, on the port 8000. So API slash todos slash all todos, I think. Yes. So we get an empty array returned, which is correct because we don't have any to-dos yet stored in our database, right? So this route is working perfectly. Also, you can see we get this log to the console. So we get the path, basically, or the request that was called. We get the status response and how much time it took. And this is what Morgan does. This is what this does. So this is just a nice little extra, you know? So yeah, this already works. And now it gets kind of repetitive. It gets kind of repetitive if you all know what you're doing. So now we're going to create a to-do. So let's just say this. Also try catch, console log the error. Const new to-do is going to be equal to new to-do. And now we can basically just pass in the whole request.body. So we don't even need this request.body like this. And then we need to save it. So const saved to do is equal to await new to do dot save like this. And then next we're going to return it like we did here. So just say res.status.200 JSON save to do. Oops. Save to do. Now we also need to export this. So let me just make this smaller. Create to do. Let's export this. Let's import it here as well. And now this is going to be a post request. So new to do, create to do. So on this path, we will call this function basically. So now when we go to Insomnia, let's just copy this path. Let's create a new HTTP request, paste this. This was new to do like this. So now we will need to pass in a body. If you use Postman, I can also show you how to do it in Postman. So yeah, so wait, I'm just gonna close this. So you have this path. So new to do. You can pass in the body by clicking on here, then click on raw and then on JSON. Now you can pass in your body here, but I'm gonna use Insomnia for this project. So when you go to our to-do model, we have a title, a description. Yeah, just a title and description which is required because this value is going to be filled in automatically. So let's just say title, my first to-do. Yeah. Description. Yay, something like this. I don't even know. So yeah, let's just, also this was a post request, right? Very important. Let's send this. Yes. So now we got returned our save to do. So it should also be saved in our MongoDB now. But you can see we have a title field, we have our description, then we have the status, which is false of completed, right? We have a unique ID, which was automatically generated by Mongoose. And then we have a created add and an updated add field. So they're the same right now, but when you're going to update it, this field will change this value. This value. So yeah, and this is just basically some version key or whatever. So you don't need to care about this. So now when you check our .env file, we called our database like this. So just copy this, open MongoDB Compass, paste it here. I don't know why this is not working. Yeah, now we got it. So you can see when you click on all the to-dos, you can see your to-dos. So you can see we have a record now, which is amazing. So we can get all of our to-dos, right? Now when we get this, not this. Gosh, I need to delete this. Also, I can delete this. Can I save this somehow? Okay, I'm just going to copy the path again. Let's call our all dash to-dos endpoint. And you can see we got all of our to-dos. We have a to-do now, right? So this is working perfectly, basically. So we can also rename this, I believe. Rename get all to-dos. And same goes for this. This was create a to-do. So yeah, now we already have two endpoints. Let's create another one for updating a to-do. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. Update to-do by ID. So I say by ID because each to-do has a unique ID value, right? So that's an easy way to identify a to-do. So this is also going to be asynchronous. And yeah, so now we're going also to say try catch. Let's console log the error. Const updated to do. So now there's a function which Mongoose provides, which is called find by ID and update. So we're going to call that, and our ID, we're going to pass that as a parameter in the endpoint. So we can say request.params.id, and then we want to update this to do with the request.body. And now we are going to pass in an object which is new is equal to true, because this is just going to return the real updated to do, because when we don't include this, it's going to update the to do when we call this, but it's not going to return the updated values. So just make sure you return this, you include this. So yeah, now we can basically return it as well. So updated to do, and this is what I love about Mongoose. It's so easy to create a full stack application. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So it's going to be a put request, right? So update to do, and then this is how we pass in the ID. So basically when we call this in Insomnia, we're not going to pass in colon ID, but this is going to be some ID basically, right? But for now, we are going to do it like this. And this is the value which is request.params.id. So yeah, I think we can call this now. So let's open Insomnia. New request. Let's copy this. And the path was update dash to do, update dash to do. And now we need an ID to pass into this. So let's go to our MongoDB. Let's just copy this. Let's go to Insomnia and let's paste it. Oops, this was a GET request. there needs to be a put request, and also we're going to have something to update. So let's just say the title. We want to update it to, wait, let's just check what it was. My first to do, let's just say my first updated to do. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait, let's just check it out. So we got a 441 error. Why is this update to do? How is this not found? Hmm. Type ID and update. True. This should be working actually. API slash to-dos. Windows port 8000 API slash to-dos update to-do. Why is this not working? Water break. Always make sure to stay hydrated, guys. It's easier to debug. Ah, of course. We need to say update to do by ID. What a stupid mistake. But see, this is good because once you get errors or a bug, you know how to fix it, right? And so it's not going to happen in the future. So let's just call this again. And yes, so now we have updated the title, my first updated to do. And when we check MongoDB, when I'm going to refresh this now. So just look at the title right now. So yeah, my first updated to do. So now we can get all of our to-dos. We can create to-dos. We can update it. Now we only need to delete it. So delete to-do by ID async request.respond and request response. So also you can see GitHub Copilot is already suggesting me this whole blog. So yeah, if you don't have GitHub Copilot, definitely get it. It's so worth it. So yeah, const deleted to do await to do, but this time it's not find by ID and update, it's find by ID and delete. So request dot params dot ID, oops, dot ID, and then we're going to return it like we did above here. So yeah, also make sure you export it, delete to do by ID. Now we can call it here router.delete. This is a delete request. So delete to do by ID. We need to import it here. And now this should also work. So let's just go to here. Let's just go here. Copy this, create a new request. First of all, let's rename this. Update to do by ID. New request. This is going to be delete to do by ID. Make sure you set this to delete and then paste this path here. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. So yeah, so localhost 8000 API, it's not update to do, but delete to do. And then it's going to be the same ID, right? Because it's the same ID from the to do as we just updated because we're going to delete it now. So yeah, we are going to delete this to do now when we press on send. Yes, so we have this basically doesn't make sense because we're returning the deleted to do. We could also just say something like to do delete deleted, something like this. Let's just remove this. Yeah, but it's basically the same. Now we're going to get a 404. I don't know why this just worked because we should have already deleted it, but now when we check, it's deleted. So all of these routes work. So when we get all of our to-dos again, we get an empty array. We can create a new to-do. My second to-do, get a Lambo maybe. I mean, who doesn't like Lambos, right? So now we have an ID here. We can update this. Just make sure you also update this. Let's just say title. No, we don't want to update the title. Let's say we want to update the description. Description. Buy 2 Lambos. So yeah, let's just send this. Buy 2 Lambos now. When we check our MongoDB, buy 2 Lambos. So yeah, basically this is already something that you can call an API, right? Because we have our routes, we have models, we have configured a database. Now all I'm going to do is say git add, git commit, something like to do CRUD routes. And you might wonder now, what does CRUD mean? CRUD is this. So basically we can create, right? CRUD. C stands for create. Oops. Why is this not working? Create. Stop importing stuff. Come on, VS Code. R stands for read. U stands for update. And D stands for delete. So we can create a to-do. We can read all of our to-dos. This is what the get functions always do. We can update a to-do and we can delete a to-do. So yeah, this is all it does basically. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. This was our first part of the full stack MERN application. I'm going to record the second part right now where we are going to set it up with our client. So we can basically call all of these functions from the client directory. So we're going to have a React app. Yeah, but we're going to hook it up with our API, of course, right? So yeah, thank you guys for watching and see you guys in the next video.